This is the story about the mines and town of Telluride, Colorado. It was in 1875 that a prospector by the name of John Fallon staked a claim in Marshal Basin, close to what is modern-day Telluride. It was a year later, however, that the town actually came into being. The town was originally called Columbia, but because there were other towns that had the same name, it was decided to call this town Telluride. This is because Tellurides are elements and compounds that are found in rocks and minerals where gold and silver are found, so it seemed a fitting name at the time. As with most old mining towns, their locations were situated where the minerals were, and very seldom would you find a gold mine out in an easy-to-get-to location. Most of these towns were located in narrow valleys beside steep mountains, and it would take days or even weeks to travel to these towns because of the rugged terrain. Telluride was one of these towns that were hard to get to. There was just a narrow rough trail going in, and only pack mules, or traveling on foot, could get you there. Then, in 1881, a fellow by the name of Otto Mears opened a toll road, and this allowed wagons and cargo into the town, and so it was from this time on that the town started to grow. Then in 1891, Otto Mears, who ran the toll road into Telluride, built a section of a narrow-gauge railroad into the town. This was cheaper transportation for passengers and freight, which allowed miners and goods to flow into the town and ore to flow out to the mills and foundries elsewhere. During this time, the town and area grew fast. However, Telluride almost went bust during the 1893 silver crisis. However, further exploration located additional gold, and within a decade, a second mining boom was underway. By the end of the 1890s, there were over 200 active mines, 18 mills, and 1,300-odd miners in the immediate area. There were some fairly large mines that were started in the Telluride district. Mines like the Tomboy, Smuggler Union, Pandora, and the Sheridan, along with several smaller mines. The Tomboy mine, however, was one of the larger mines. This mine was located a few miles from Telluride at an elevation over 1,100 feet, so the mine had its own camp and housing. There were a few hundred people who lived and worked at this camp, which had its own store and even had a bowling alley. A daily stage would take passengers into the town of Telluride. This mine saw its share of violence over the years. In 1907, a man was shot and killed at the company store, and the gunman was then shot and killed by the deputy sheriff. Then in 1919, 4 other miners were gunned down by a group of men that they had a dispute with. These mines were very lucrative, and it wasn't long before there were labor strikes with miners wanting higher wages. Of course, mine owners were really only interested in profits and not workers' pay or comforts. Worker safety was almost non-existent, and many miners died on the job doing everyday tasks. Then in 1901, a fire broke out at the Smuggler where 22 men lost their lives. This event led to a period of serious labor unrest and violence that spread to other mines in the area as well. This violence led to the murder of a few mine guards and even mine superintendents. Bulkley Wells, who was the mine owner of the Smuggler mine, didn't like unions at all. One of the mine guards, William Barney, disappeared, and Bulkley Wells claimed the guard had been murdered by one of the miners. All this violence and gunplay which followed were part of an ongoing struggle in the mining communities. All these events became known as the Colorado Labor Wars. Like most mining towns back in the day, Telluride saw its share of Wild West action in the early days. It was here in 1889 that Butch Cassidy did his very first bank robbery, making off with over $24,000 in hard cold cash from a local bank. In 1891, the town of Telluride got electricity from a nearby power plant. This power was used for the town, and also power lines were run to the mines. This power allowed the larger mines to convert over to electric and expand their resources by going deeper and becoming more mechanized. In the 1940s, the mine started to see mergers and consolidations by the Eldorado Mining Company. This company kept mining the Pandora deposit until 1978. Today, Telluride is a town for skiers and outdoors types who like to mountain bike and hike the hills. Many of the old town buildings have been restored and turned into fancy cafes, gift shops, and eateries. The town's new industry is tourism, and you can still drive up the old mine roads and see the ruins of these old mines and camps. I hope you enjoyed this short story about the mines and town of Telluride, Colorado. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you more old lost mine stories.